Well, this is a video about how you can start your own small farm business or build your own small farm. The intent of this is to give you the knowledge, the basics, and the fundamentals for you to build. You will be working with galvanized steel tubing, these plates that you can buy on the internet, and I'd like to say that all the materials to do this building are readily available, and all the hardware can be bought on the internet, and this kind of pipe is readily available. This is 1/2 inch galvanized steel tubing. And one thing we want to bring out, very important, is there's a lot of times you can get free material like this if there's a house you're building down, being taken down. Now the other material that you're using is these stainless steel zip ties. So with your screw gun that you'll see later, this materials, you can build the infrastructure for and the equipment for your small farm. Cutting tubing is the essential part of building your small farm or making the things around your house. So right now we're going to show you how to cut this tubing in the best ways that are possible. The circular saw will do the work for you. I have 3 blades here that work for it. This is a diamond blade and these are abrasive blades. Then the angle grinder has this thin kerf and it cuts the tubing very nicely. And then lastly we have the reciprocating saw with these tiny little blades that are made just for cutting this tubing. And we're going to cut all 3, but I want to tell you right up front that this is bizarre, but it only is this valuable if you have to cut through solid steel. This is really fast and this is very safe. Now when you use the circular saw and especially the angle grinder, you have to have complete safety on. You have to have your ears covered, your face covered, and you have to have a glove on, because for the safety purposes these things explode and they send shrapnel into people. I mean, I've seen it happen and it's done. So this is a very powerful tool. You'll be using it a whole lot, but be aware it needs safety. This is the same, and in fact this machine gives off a lot of dust and everything, but the reciprocating saw will cut the metal within a 32nd or 1/8 of an inch easy, and there's no need to use these except in special situations where you have to cut galvanized roofing that's variable. Then the diamond saw would cut that, or this would cut it, but this could not cut that type of sheet metal. So let's make the cuts. We put it into the device, excuse me, just like that. It's got to be sturdy, and we take the circular saw first with a diamond blade, and we'll just cut off a little piece of it. Now, as you can see, this is hot as a pistol and sharp, and we have to knock that off. It's not the best way to cut it, but I will say this. This will cut rebar and stuff that some of the others might not. Okay, the next thing we would do, now on the circular saw, these abrasive blades are pretty good. The thinner the kerf, the better it is for this type of work. But the advantage of the diamond blade is it never wears out. Now we're going to use the angle grinder with the thin blade, and this is the tool that is very, very efficient for cutting cattle panels and stuff like that, where you go zoot, 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 zoot. But the one problem is you do have to wear your safety equipment. Here we go. See, my cord wasn't free, so I turned it off and start over. So you can see it makes a little bit cleaner cut, but it's hot. But it's a good tool. Now, we're going to use the reciprocating saw, and you've got to know the skill to it. When you put it up against it, you lean into it and make the saw higher than the thing, and do real slow at first. Now, you have to feather it in, but that's a pretty clean cut, and it's not hot, doesn't make noise. Now, with all of these cuts, you have to come in here and take off the sharp edges. But that's the 3 ways to cut it, and I'm going to tell you that this is the cheapest and the easiest for cutting tubing. Now, this is 1/2 inch tubing, and this is 3/4 inch tubing, but it's all the same. Well, the intent of this little part is to show you the versatility of this great tool. The reciprocating saw is the most versatile tool in the arsenal, and you'll get that in your kit to work with cutting tubing. But we just wanted to show you some of the other features of this saw. First of all, you can take it out with this blade and prune trees and cut firewood. And I would also add that when you have to cut roots, this is the tool for cutting roots, branches, and small firewood. And it runs off of your reciprocating saw. Now, if you're doing some carpentry work and you're cutting 2x4s and stuff like that, even ones that have nails, you can use this blade, because this blade has 10 teeth per inch. That's how they rate them. Now, when we're cutting tubing, a lot of people use 24 teeth per inch, but if you use this long blade, it starts vibrating, and all the electricians who do this type of cutting of tubing use 24 or 32 and a short blade, because then you don't get the whipping action. And in the kit, for the starter kit, are 10 of these blades. Now, here's another little thing about the blades that you get along with the reciprocating saw, is you can put your vice grip in, and you've got a saw for all kinds of needs, for sheetrock and what have you. And here's another thing, these have carbide tips, and if you were doing a project that had the right kind of nails or whatever, this will last forever. It just keeps cutting, and it's the number of teeth, well, you have to figure that out later yourself. So the reciprocating saw really does the work for you. It's an essential part of your kit, and it'll cut that tubing without any noise and without any heat and without any need for safety equipment. This is your tool, the reciprocating saw. Our basic materials, galvanized steel tubing and these Simpson strong ties, are able to be connected by a system of drilling holes and using the proper bolting and fastening systems. So what we're going to do right now is show you how to use your basic materials and to drill holes and make your attachments. Let's run through the tools on an overview right now. We have 3 drills that are powered by electricity, and they the reason you use those is indoors. They're much better, more powerful, and work better. Then we have our dual set of outdoor tools, which is your drill driver, the impact driver right here, and then this is your multi-purpose drilling tool. And right now we're going to chuck in several things. Right now I have the reamer for doing it. The sizes of bolts and stuff that we use are almost all number 8, 5/8 stainless steel, self-drilling panhead Phillips screws. There's one of them right there. Now those things can be bought on the internet for 4 cents each. Believe it or not, you buy 4 cents. Now right here is in case your hole is too big. Sometimes when you work, you tear the hole open, you move to a bigger size, number 10, same thing, stainless self-drilling panhead Phillips. And there it is, but this is not a panhead Phillips because the number 10 is, it's not self-drilling. This one you have to drill a hole. in to use it. We're going to do that in just a minute. You can buy them in self-drilling, or you have to make a pilot hole like this. Then we're going to move into bolting with machine screws. We use number 10, 24, and whatever length you need. These are 1.5 inches long, and that's very good for the work we do. So now let's go ahead and use these tools in a way that it works for you to have your shop be really work. So the first thing we're going to do is we use a center punch. Now there's two center punches here. This is a real sharp one right here, and this one's a little bit flat. The sharp one gets used on pipe, and the other one, the more done one, goes on sheet metal. So right now we're going to lay this down and make a hole in the dead center. You have to be straight up and down, and you make your little hole like that. And we'll start out with a 1/8 inch drill. And you make a little bridge with your hand. You bring it right down onto there. Then take your left hand and get it tighter. Oh. We bring the center punch down onto the very center of the pipe and give it a wacko. Then we take our 1/8 inch drill, put it in that center punch place. Now we're going to go up. Oh, here's something for you to see. You see, when you make your pilot holes, they're 1/8 inch. That's what we just did. When you make your pass-through hole for your screws, it's 3/16. And when you're doing your bolting, you can use either 1/4 or 3/16. I hope that helps you. Now let's drill a hole with a 3/16, and we will use this in a minute. Put the center punch right in the center, straight up and down. I gave it 2 hits. So I went through both sides. Now let's use the 1/4 inch, and let's put one more. And here's the workhorse. This thing does a lot of work, and if you have a lot of holes to drill, this makes it easier. So this is a 1/4 inch hole, which is about as big as I like to drill. Now the next tool that we're going to show you is the reamer. You see, because that will cut you. It's all sharp right there. So you put this tool goes right down inside there. Smooth. And one other thing about this little tool, if you're ever making a flute or something out of something, this will help you. Okay, the next thing we're going to see how to drill holes in is sheet metal, and that is right here. You see, these holes come, Simpson strong ties come with holes already drilled in them. But when you make some cuts, and sometimes you need extra, you need holes where you don't have them. So you put them. By the way, when we drill on the bench, you see, this is my beautiful workbench, but this is a piece of scrap lumber. So I can drill holes right into this without, and then later throw it away or sweep it. You see that little hole? You try to use your center punch is a little bit wider for this type of material. So let's cut a 3/16 pass-through hole. This is a very common thing that you make so that the screws can go all the way through and then into the pipe. Now, always grab your metal with a tool, because it will spin and cut you very seriously. It's one of the few things we have to worry about in safety. So now, with that little bit of effort, I've made a hole that is bigger than the one Simpson did, and I can put it anywhere on the sheet metal, and you can even do it after you've started the process of fabricating. Now, we talked about the workhorse and the bigger tools. Right now, we're going to show you how to drill a hole in sheet metal so that it's big enough that you can reclaim things like filing cabinets. This is a very important part of why this business will work, because old filing cabinets are everywhere, and when you learn how to drill a big hole in them, then you can put your metal shears in and you can cut them to pieces, and it's worth a lot of money. Here you go. We're going to drill a hole in these this sheet metal big enough. So there it is. And the more you work at it, the bigger it'll get, you know. But that's enough to show you that you can get it big enough to put a pipe through, or put your nibblers in. Where's that nibbler? Let me show you something. This is what I'm talking about. You find some old scrap metal, and you get this in there, and you can reclaim the whole project with your electric shears. These things are less than $50, and you could reclaim a whole huge amount of work. Everything that's taken out, this is the most important thing. I want the camera to hear this. When there's old buildings, when they tear them down, people sometimes claim the wood, but the most money is in the sheet metal and the tubing. Literally, you could get thousands and thousands of dollars by using your reciprocating saw and cutting out this conduit. It's called electromagnetic conduit, electric metal conduit. I just call it tubing. Okay, so now we have seen how to drill holes with in the sheet metal. So let's take this tool and go one step further, because when you're building outbuildings and greenhouses and stuff, you sometimes need to put a foundation down. And the way to put a foundation down is by drilling using an auger bit. You see, you chuck it in, and this is battery powered, so you go out in the field, and this will drill a hole straight down in the ground, just like this, and it will go through clay or sand or even sod. It just won't go through rocks. So this is your valuable tool in drilling is also to take it outside and drill. So let's connect. We drilled a 1/8 inch pilot hole. We have a 3/8 inch pass-through hole. So let's look at the types of screws. For the whole business, the only thing you're going to need is, as we've said, bolting, the number 10 screw, and the number 8. Number 8 is the one you use all the time. It's a self-tapping. We'll do one in 1 second. But right now, we're going to screw this piece of metal down here using the impact driver. Now I have the impact driver on 1. It can be put on 1, 2, or 3. This is pretty easy work, so I put it on the lowest setting. And you put it in just kind of like a doctor does a needle or something. You put your metal piece right over the hole you drilled. And you can watch this right down there. I have it on 1, so it's real easy. And that will hold 200 pounds. And it will, and if I lock it down, it'll even keep it. See that? That's beautiful. Now, the other thing that you'll be doing your fabricating with is putting holes into the pipe using the self-drilling number 8. So what we're going to do right now is put this little hole over the dead center, put our our self-drilling right in there. And this is your workhorse system. This allows you just to go anywhere and put that on the higher setting. There it is. With this, so with these self-tapping screws, and those are the number 8, 5/8 stainless steel self-drilling pan head Phillips screws right there, you've made the foundation for anything you want to build, from an outhouse to a flower arrangement, fruit stands, and greenhouses and wagons, because you have the basics for building when you can connect really inexpensive tubing to inexpensive sheet metal, and you can build anything you wish. The power is with you. Well, in this section, we're going to learn how to use the metal shears, and this tool is a miracle, and I'll tell you why. This kind of material that's in my hands, you can buy secondhand at most rehab Habitat for Humanity, and they sell it for $3 or $4 a pound. And you can bring it home, and with your metal shears, you can cut. I'll give you an example. Somebody was building a deck, and they had a joist hanger here, you see? And a little bit later, we'll just cut that across, and we'll make 2 brackets that would make a complete table leg. So I'm going to cut that in a minute. You'll see how to take a simple Simpson strong tie that cost $1 and make a few cuts on it and bend it, and you can make this right here. Now that's a beautiful piece. If you were to go to the hardware store and buy something like that, it would just cost you a whole bunch. But it fits on the end. We'll be working with them in a minute. It's beautiful. Okay, here's another thing. You'll be learning how to make, like for a shelf bracket or something, a little L thing like this, and it costs like maybe 20 cents, you know. And then over here, you're going to learn how to make swings. Now this right here is 18 gauge galvanized steel, and it's reclaimed steel from a other project. Because I'm cutting it into such small pieces, another person's scrap becomes this is gold. This is even stronger than the Simpson bite. Simpson is 20 gauge, this is 18, and this is strong material. We'll look at it a little bit, we'll make a cut on it. Now here's a piece of scrap that you could make anything with the shears. So the first thing let's do is let's just figure out how to make before the class is over, what you're gonna learn is how to split the pipe and make devices that go up and down, and the mechanical part of this class has started. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is just see how this metal shears cuts a straight line right down the middle. You see, now I've taken this piece of that Simpson strong tie that costs $1, so this is a 20-cent piece. And you see it's got 5 screws. I'll put that screw right there in the middle of the vise. Okay. Now I've made not quite. You got to hit it one more time. I made a 90-degree shelf bracket. I'm a little slow because of my teaching, but it's real easy to do. And this little curve in the middle can be made real tight or real wide according to how you adjust your vise. And this will become a shelf bracket or anything else that you want. That's your first piece. Now the second piece to learn how to make with these Simpson, well, let's go through some of the end product here. The end product is going to be like this. Here is a corner bracket that's made, and it's made in such a way that the sharp edge did not get cut off, and the reason for that is because later a cross brace will be put in, and that would be perfect. Now on the other hand, This is, just for an example, one that's been trimmed off, but this is 3/4 inch, very strong, and its value is that the other pipe will fit inside of it. And here's what we're going to make today. We're going to make this is 1/2 inch pipe. This is one of these Simpson strong ties, and this is another of the Simpson strong ties, and these are the stainless steel screws, and that right there will hold up a house. This can be the foundation, this can be the roof. It's an amazing piece. So we're going to learn to make that in just 1 minute, and let's do that first. The first thing we have to do is, I gotta grab my pin, is you mark the Simpson just like the one that you were looking at. You see it has a little square at the top, a little square on this end, and then there's a line cut across here. So I lay the Simpson down, and I make a little teeny weeny mark here, a little teeny weeny mark here, here, and over here. And then, real simply, I use another piece of the Simpson, and I draw a line between those tick marks. And I'll be cutting that now. Now here's an interesting fact. In woodworking, you have to be pretty exact. In metalworking like this, you have great latitude in how you do it. Now the same principle as woodworking is, though, that I want to cut to leave the line. So here is the cut. You see, I left most of the line. Now, it's not very sharp, but if there's any sharpness, you go over to the anvil, and you can just take off all the burrs. I'm going to go ahead and make the other cut, but here's an important fact. When you're cutting sheet metal, you have to have it gripped tight, and you have to hold your shears kind of against your body steady, and you pull the item into you. It really makes it easier. If you watch right now, watch what happens. Oops. You know what? It was not gripped tight enough, and it slipped in my hand. So you have to, that's why we use these tools. It would cut you otherwise. I have to make it a little tighter, grip it down, and I don't know if it'll come back in there. Let's go. Here it comes. Now, I have duplicated the this part right here. Now, and so here's don't need to. Let's go ahead. I'm going to open the vise just a little bit, and and you see that row of dots right down the middle? Now that is a good job. You see this part? That part is Simpson Strong Tie should pay me for inventing this thing. And I've asked them to, and they haven't even responded. So that will go on later when we're talking about how to fasten. This will go, and that gives you all the screws up and down. It gives you the connection here. Now there has to be one more screw made here and one more here. We have to do that like we did with our drilling process. And this is what we're going to get. Now the other part is called the gusset. By the way, I don't have a name for this. I call it a corner bracket or something. This is a gusset. And I'm going to cut it across here so that it doesn't have that sharp edge out there. We take a Simpson and we make our dots where we want to cut it. And there is a good way you get a little extra if you leave the square on the end. And then get a good grip on it, like I didn't do last time. Take your tool. Now I like to hold it down at the bottom. And you see, right now I have duplicated that gusset. Of course, it goes underneath that pipe, and it's beautiful, you know. So let's work now on cutting pipe down the middle to make like a connection. What we're going to make is a connection between two pipes, because when you buy these kind of connections in the store, they cost over $1. Now this one right here, I'm going to put 2 more screws in later. I'm going to cut one and make it. But this is a marvelous way to extend or use your pipe. Even if you have 2 short ends, you can put it together this way. Now, of course, you know it needs 2 more screws over here. So let's cut the pipe in half by putting it in the vise. Oh, and by the way, all of these tubing have a seam. And don't cut the seam and don't drill into the seam. Find a place where you know it's not a seam and put that up. And by the way, that's how to do it. Don't try to find the seam. Find the place that's not the seam. Okay, I get that in there fairly tight. I pick up the metal shears. Now, the 1/2-inch pipe is still loose in there. So what we'll do, we'll tighten her up just a bit, and we'll make another cut. And then put the pipe in and tighten her down. I'm just doing half of it because it's a video. And then we take the self-tapping screws. Sorry, it's so slow. We're only going to do one, but just to show you how easy it is. And with the the driver, holding it up, putting that screw in, coming down right here on it. And there you have it. With a couple of more screws, you would be making a completely tight connection similar to this. And you extend this. If you were to reclaim a lot of pipe from a tear down project, or tear down a house, a huge amount of this in houses and factories, then you would be able to make connections so you can always have the right length. Now these can be made real tight. You can put 2 screws here and 2 screws here and more. Okay, let's look at some of the other things that you can make. Oh, let's cut a piece of pipe entire. Well, now we're going to focus on cutting pipe in half and some of the unusual things that you can make when you cut pipe in half. You see, this was split down the middle, flattened out a bit, and when you put it on a device like this, it can become a lever, and it works quite well. So some of the other things you're going to see us making is, I think I've shown this before, but we also have the ability to make swings and gates. You see, this is just 2 screws and some hardware tape we're going to cut in half in a minute. And this will allow you to make, especially if you had 3 screws, it would hold hundreds of pounds. And on this end, you flatten it out, you drill a hole, and then you take your trimmers and you trim up around it. I haven't trimmed around it, but even though it looks crude now, it'll look good when it's finished up. So what are some of the other things that you can make? Well, we're just going to, first of all, cut a piece of pipe in half, because that gives you the ability to make a edge for a table that's like this. Anything that gets a lot of wear, you can cut the pipe in half, or actually in a 60% of it. You cut away 40 and put 60, and you got a nice, look at this, it's beautiful. Okay, so let's cut this piece of tubing in half. Make it 2 pieces. Whoa! So there you have it. You have the ability with this tool to cut a piece of pipe in half, or as I showed before, you can cut out a more percentage till you get down to a certain point. And now let's take a look at what this metal shears can do for you besides using Simpson. We've shown how Simpson works. Now, this is also Simpson, but you see all over the country, whenever they build houses, they have a huge amount of these things left over. They have to order more because it's the least expensive thing. So if you clamp it good, like I did, and you find that there's a million ways to cut it, but this one's an easy one. I'm going to cut it right now. And what I've made is something that could be used in woodworking or something else as a corner, to hold the corner. Look at all those screw holes and everything. It's a beautiful piece. And here's the thing, the man who paid for this, or the company, I don't know what they cost, maybe $10 or something. And when you cut it like this, it's worth $3. And you buy them secondhand for $3 a pound, or it used to be $3. Okay, what other features do you need? Okay, here we go. Now this is 20 gauge metal that's from Simpson. This right here is 18 gauge. You can feel it just a little stronger. Now I had some metal given to me, and this is 20 gauge, and this is 18 gauge. And there is, you can almost hear the difference. Now this metal shears will cut 18 gauge steel, it'll cut 14 gauge aluminum, and 22 gauge stainless steel. And right now I want to say to you that if you find an old toaster or something, oven that's made out of stainless steel, you can use your step drill to drill a hole, and then you can cut it and make stainless steel pieces like this for free, as long as it's 22 gauge or lighter, which they are. Okay, it's a beautiful piece. This look at the strength in this. Okay, now what we want to do is show you the metal shears cutting a piece of this 18 gauge. I don't want to cut this thing. It's too nice. We'll pass on that. You can take my word for it. Now all kinds of this metal hardware comes. You can buy it on the internet, and each of it, and it comes in a big this stuff's pretty cheap. And what's nice about it is it's made out of steel that will easily bend, so that you can make a rounded thing like this for a swing. So here's the message to you guys. Using your creativity, there's no end to what you can do. And this stuff, in every case, it's galvanized, and stainless steel. It'll outlast me, that's for sure. Now, this heavy duty thing I just bent here comes in a roll, modestly cheap. And yes, well, sometimes you get these sharp edges, so you can get yourself a pair of metal snips and just cut off the sharp parts like that. It's very easy. And then, if something's not quite the way you want it, you can take your hammer and just easily modify it. Like if there's, that is the most amazing thing that takes away all the sharp edges. So this tool will cut 18 gauge steel plate. It'll cut all these other light duty things, and it'll cut the pipe. Oh, and this kind of stuff here, I don't want to cut it, it's too nice. Well, we'll cut one piece right here. You see, there, it seems like the metal shears for less than $50 gives you a huge amount of potential, and along with the others. Well, we've showed how to make most of the connectors that you need to make, and we're going to do an assembly in a minute that shows it. But I did want to show you this. If you through bolt just like this, if you through bolt it just like this, there are a few cases where, oops, can't get the threads. You see, with a washer there are ways that you need to through bolt on sometimes, and in a case like you were going to connect something like this to something else, or oh, and here's some through bolting that goes along with it. You see, it's just another way to make the connection, but it works real fine. Well, right now we're talking about hinges and how to make specialized items, and we're going upstream. So this is a prototype of a chicken tractor. This is the roof. This would have plywood on it. The chickens are down here, and as you can see, this was well made with all kinds of nice gussets. And here's how you build a hinge. You see, this is designed so that the children, so it's up like this, and when it's down, the children can play with their animals in here. So this is how you make a hinge. You have your 1/2 inch pipe, and you have your 1/2 inch gate. And in between, you put a 3/4 inch piece of pipe, and you securely, you cut it and leave a little space, and then you have another piece of it that is securely attached, and then over here another, and so that becomes a very practical gate. It can be horizontal. This one is vertical, but I'm going to show you a little bit. Let me lean this up and show you. You see, this has an overhang on the roof, so I can't put it all the way. Oh, here, I'll just do it. You see, right here, this could be made big, so this is almost an outhouse. And in a chicken pen, you can make a beautiful hinge. And the thing is about these kind of hinges here in the hardware store, they cost a lot of money. And this is cheap. Here is the secret to doing it though. You use the hardware right down here. You use this hardware tape and go around. No screws can go into the 3/4 inch. It has to be all the way through hole out. So we just put them on with the hardware tape, and it's sometimes called plumber's tape. And there it is. I'm going to make it open and close one time. You see, the 1/2 inch pipe is in the middle, and that's the pin. The 3/4 inch is securely attached. Securely attached. There's one here, 3 here, one down here, and this is a really good, long-lasting gate. And with this kind of ingenuity that you put into projects, you can make just about anything. Flower stands, small home, anything you want. Well, we're now in the design part of the learning about this materials. And what we've built here is a wagon. And this wagon is built using the panel system. This panel right here is just one piece of plywood surrounded by 1/2 inch tubing and connected by a Simpson strong tie. You can see how they makes this. Now, what we made was one panel that's a little bit taller, because when we are when you put this in the barn, we're going to turn it upside down right in a minute. Then you have the two sides that are equal, and they sit on top of this panel. So you have one panel, 2, 3, and the 4th panel down below. Now here's how it's built. The bottom panel is supported by these cross members so that the weight from the load comes down, it goes into this tubing and then into the hand truck. So the hand truck is we used to make a lot of these things using bicycle wheels that were cut up, but the hand truck, this hand truck will hold 800 pounds, cost about 60 bucks, and it makes the whole wagon system work. And if you have real rough terrain, you can buy ones with big wheels that will go on rough terrain. So this is how you make your wagons and carts. And let's go over here and take a look at this. This is how you use cube design. See, this is just a cube right here. There's 4 of these corners, 8 of these bars that connect them, and the height from here to the ground is subtracted by the height of this hand truck that's holding it. So I'm going to step over here and lift this thing up, and you can see how it's made. This is the simplicity of it. You can take this out in the field, wash 5-gallon buckets, you see, fit right down here, and you can have your garden hose here, and you wash your vegetables in the sink. Now, this is a prototype of one of the first ones we made. The ones that people have 3 sinks and a place for a 5-gallon bucket on each side. They're kind of about this long, and the 5-gallon bucket sits down on a different platform. So you wash, and put it in the 5-gallon bucket. You take it, you bring it in from the field. I usually work left to right. You bring it in from the field, you wash it, you rinse it, and then you put it into another container, and this whole thing will go with you out in the field. So the beginning of design is to know that the cube and built, and you see we've matched this to the sink. We put stainless steel screws to screw it down, and this is just the beginning of the design system. So in this class you're learning how to make a huge amount of things, because this very same cube could be a goat pen, maybe a thatched roof hutch, or anything. So you have the power to design using cubes and panels and your own creativity, and the power is with you. Thank you. Well, bending pipe is one of the other fundamentals that you need to know. So here's how it works. You buy one of these benders, you put the pipe in like this, you set this on the floor, you choose the angle. I'm doing it real quickly right now. You step on it, and there is about a 60-degree angle. You see, there it is. It's pretty simple. So with this you can make a lot of roof designs and make anything that you want to, in a way. But what I'm going to show you now is how to make kind of like furniture type designs. You sometimes need a tighter bend. So we're going to use the angle grinder with the thin kerf, but I'm going to put my protection on. I have a glove on that's protecting me, earplugs, and a face mask. I would like to say that this kind of wire, it actually is much better than the plastic. This is safer, and it's easier to see. Okay, I'm going to make a series of cuts, maybe 6, and then we'll see how it bends, and then we can see if we can make a tight bend. Now, this will bend until those all collapse Right here, each one of those cuts is collapsing, and I made almost a 90. So let's finish it up. Hold on, don't let the camera get the spark. So I make a couple of more cuts, and I push it, and it's almost 90. I think that's good enough. You see, and when you put a gusset across this, you have something that's totally strong, and you really don't need a gusset. But what this allows you to do, if you make bigger curves, you can make a very tight bend, but it's smooth on the outside. This is hot. That's it for bending, and you know, it gives you the ability to make some things that are very beautiful. Still on? Mm-hmm. Well, right there you got to see some of the angle iron doing it, angle grinder doing its job. Now what we're going to show you next is how to use stainless steel zip ties so that your work has a huge amount of strength. I'm not going to touch this for a minute, it's probably hot, but here's how it works. In this part, we're going to learn about a brand new tool which gives you a great ability to put cattle panels and other such things together. Here's how it is. I don't know what they cost, but just a few pennies. You buy 100 of them over the internet, and it goes through like this, and then you get a hold of it with this new tool, and it shrinks it down and pulls it tight really well. Now here's the value in this guy. It holds 175 pounds with good spring type stainless steel. So this will never deteriorate. So here's a job for us. What we'll do is, this is a cattle panel, a piece of it, and we want to hook it to a piece of tubing, and we would use it to make a panel. Well, right now we're introducing you to a brand new tool. It's new to me. That this is a zip tie that uses stainless steel zip ties, and each one of these little zip ties like this can actually hold 175 pounds. So when you thread it in, as you pull it, it shrinks it down and puts all this tension on it. And here's what's so unique about it. When you get it to the place where you want it, you cut it, and it makes a perfect little every time. It's just kind of like it's an incredible tool. Now today what we're going to show you is how you can take a cattle panel. You saw me cut one just a minute ago, and you could put it inside of your panel, and you could make whatever you wanted, lightweight and strong, and held together by these zip ties that each one holds 175 pounds. Let's make an example here. We set this down, have a piece of tubing locked in. We take this one right here, we thread it through, pull it down a bit, put it in the machine, oops, okay, now it's tight as a drum, and I pull the lever, and there it is, secure. Let's do one more so that we can see how strong this guy is. It's down tight right now. I pull the little lever, and there it is. We'll unclamp the pipe, and there is an amazing piece of connection. So if you were to use this same system and you connect it all the way around, this would hold, you could drop it out of your truck, it would just bounce. No, it'll hold a lot. It's a miracle way to build things. Well, one of the great advantages of using the zip ties and the cattle panels is that you can make storage that is just fantastic. And I'll give you a good example. Right here, this was made with plastic zip ties, but if you want indoor or outdoor storage, you can use 10-foot pieces of tubing, 8-foot panels that you've cut, and zip tie them together, and what you have is fantastic storage. And what it does, it doesn't collect dust, and it holds these totes real well. Well, we've learned how to cut many pieces, but now we're going to talk about how to assemble the project. And there's a magic into it. These clamps, as you see right down here, we're going to clamp in this gusset. But what it takes in order to do it is you have to work off a square table. In a carpentry, many times you measure square. You have tools that give you square. In the metalwork, it's just it floats. So you have to put a lot of good clamps in it. Then you put your gusset in the place that you want it. And I'm just going to show you what these are. These are stainless steel. These are the number 8, 5/8 inch panhead Phillips self-drilling screws. And you put those guys in after it's all clamped down. And there it is. That is going to hold. Now we take our the piece right here that goes here, that holds up the vertical. What we do is load up a screw. I get down on one knee right here. Okay, that's one in. I like this way of holding them up because it makes it easy. Now we got that in. I could put 2 more screws, but for the sake of respecting your time, I'm going to go ahead and put the vertical in. One more screw and we got it. Okay, let's unclamp it and see if it holds. There you have it. This is a homemade, manufactured item. There's one little trick we might show one more time, and that is if you take your heavy hammer and you put it behind what you're working with, and then you tap it, it just rolls over. It looks like it's made in a factory. Isn't that beautiful? Let's do one more little bit of hammering right over here. And that's why they make a ball peen. You go da 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 da. And there it is. Smooth, strong, sturdy, stainless steel, galvanized, and it doesn't cost much. So assembly is an easy part, and there's many steps to fabrication. In these video clips, you have learned the basics, the fundamentals, and the principles to build the infrastructure and the equipment you need for your small farm. Most of this is bicycle scale, a little smaller than the big farms, and you have also learned how to start a small business that helps other people. Designing and building the things you need is a joy, and we salute your efforts. You have the power.